Welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome back my guest, Aiden. Yay, for the audience. Cool. Well, thank you, Aiden, for coming back to the show. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you for this is a special random show, but also it was a fundraiser for my dance team choreos. And so Aiden was generous enough to donate to that. And one of the bingo fundraiser options was to come back on my podcast. So we appreciate that. Help reduce our retreat funds or retreat costs.
Yeah, we love
So
throwing money.
yeah, especially adult money. What's nice is that for the adults on the team, like the people who have jobs, it's usually easier to raise money because those people have friends who also have jobs. Whereas the college students on the team, usually it's other college students who they're asking money from. So it's like,
Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna be possible for me to be a millionaire in this lifetime, so the
no,
closest I
I
can
think too.
get is throwing $20 at a college student. I was
Okay.
like, "Damn, I feel
Okay,
so
Aiden.
rich right now."
Okay, Aiden, we love that you like throwing money at college students. Anyways, so I also want to say appreciate you bringing these high noons for us to consume. For video, you can see that, but if it's audio, you can just imagine ASMR.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll want to pop this open now.
Yeah, yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Cool, nice.
Oh my gosh.
Now everyone's thirsty at home. Cheers. Nice. Mm.
Mmm. The delicious taste of high noon.
Wow, vodka seltzer pineapple. Um, so for those of you who don't know, random show, it'll just be a break from our traditional format. So instead of having the whole spiel of interviewing him and all this other stuff, since we've already done that, instead of going into further topics on his expertise, we're gonna go into like a more of a casual, friendly back and forth, asking a question, answering it, and then we'll kind of move on, similar to episode 20 with my friend Julie. And so that's kind of like what we're gonna be doing today. So yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Aiden, would you like to start with your first question and or topic?
I would love to start. And when I was thinking about what I should ask, I was like, dang, I feel like I've gotten so much from you and our relationship over the past couple years. I want other people to benefit from that as well.
Nice.
Uh, so that meant my first question was going to be about finances.
Mm,
What motivated you to start learning about finances? Like, how did you get started? I know for me, I first became interested in finances when I realized I had no money. And I was like, dang, how do I change that zero to something that's not a zero?
yeah.
And
Move the decimal over a little bit.
yeah, exactly, right? So reaching out to you to talk about finances, learning a little bit from my brother and my dad, although they're not as great as explaining it the way you do. So I was interested to learn more about like what got you motivated to learn that, to become as strong as you are in that, and then to be able to share that with others.
That's a good question. I think it's the straightforward answer is I also wanted to be rich or do well with money. And so I think that was always a strong motivation for me to learn about personal finance. And also early on in college or postgraduate, I started to learn from some mentors who were like big in entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And they recommended constant personal development and reading. And so when I was like 22 ish, I just started this reading 2 books a month sort of thing. And I've been doing that ever since. And so investing in my education helped me to find resources on how to be better at personal finance. And something that I love about personal finance, and again, if you're a personal finance person, I would love to have you on the show just to interview and have this conversation deeper. But what I love about personal finance is it's something that once you learn a few key principles and practices and habits that you can implement to your own life, it pays so much in dividends and
Mm.
ROI over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And so I love having these coaching sessions with people where they can learn just a few quick things, and I know in 10, 20 years they're going to be a millionaire or whatever that the case is, right?
Mhm.
Or at least eliminate debt or get to a place where they are financially more comfortable.
Mhm.
And we talk about this all the time, but
Yeah.
I would never put a price tag on the feeling of having that financial security or stability, because having that just alleviates so much of the daily anxiety people have over, what if I get laid off at my job, or what if something happens? Do I have enough savings in the bank?
Yeah.
What if this credit card debt comes back to like bite me in the ass, stuff like that. So I think it's kind of like evangelizing the whole like just learn about finances. There's you can do it in a safe way where you're not being scammed by someone, and it's just really easy principles that haven't changed over the long term.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, cool, cool.
Yeah, anything from you? I think I know you mentioned that you just wanted to, learn how to be better with money, but
Yeah, I definitely wanted to learn how to do better with money. And I think we started getting reconnected when I was starting to get back into the workforce after leaving academia. And that's when I started having to do my own taxes because now I'm no longer a dependent. Then I had to look at paying for things like car
paying for
insurance,
things.
health insurance. I
See,
know.
what you need is like a sugar daddy or something.
Yeah, I would love a sugar daddy.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
opposed.
my personal finance advice 101 is get a sugar daddy.
I mean, I'm on the market for a sugar daddy,
He's like, I'm open to that.
if you want feet pics, I got feet.
I got two of them.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. I sometimes tease my friends and say my ideal sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship is they pay me to leave them alone.
Mm.
I was like, I would promise I won't bother you all week. Just send me like $1,000.
So you're saying your expertise is getting people to pay you to not bother them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, hey, anybody out there, if you want me out of your life, just send me $1,000 and consider it done. I'm gone.
If anyone falls for that, props to you, man. Cool. Any other questions on the topic? I know. Yeah, I mean, we can go really deep into this, but I don't
Yeah.
know if you had anything else that you feel like would be valuable.
I think the most valuable thing for me was when you were talking about like prioritizing different buckets of money
Mm.
before looking at different levels of like how to use your money. I mean, I won't go into too much because to be honest, I have notes, but they're not in my brain.
No.
So I'll leave that to you.
Like, sorry, so you meant different buckets and what levels of priority? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I remember. So first we were talking about saving money by assessing like what is your at a minimum monthly spend, and then first meeting the goal of having 6 months in saving, then 1 year, then 3 years, and then after I have enough in savings, then I can start putting towards like a high yields
Mhm, mhm.
fund
Yeah.
question mark,
Yeah.
and then after that there was like other levels of investment, but it's always important to look at the first levels first before getting there because there's no point in throwing money into
Mm,
like
mhm, mhm.
the stock market if I can't pay
Right.
rent.
If you can't pay rent and or if like your credit card debt is 16% and you're trying to get 8% from the stock market, you're like, that math doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not strong at math, so all of that was just gibberish to me. But yeah,
It's okay. He's doing the right thing. He just can't communicate it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The communication part is a skill, so I'll leave that to you.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is kind of what I do when I walk through when I have coaching sessions on personal finance with people. We kind of assess where they're at, where they want to be, and obviously it's tailored towards them, right? And I don't give them sort of investment advice. It's kind of like you can do research and stuff like that. But the personal finance side of it is pretty straightforward, like principles of good personal finance. So let's say someone is in debt, we kind of assess where all the debt is at, credit cards, loans, etc., what the percentages are, and then a plan to either, if it makes sense to tackle that debt first, or simultaneously build their savings if they don't have savings. But I learned this from two separate books. One is Ramit Sethi's "I Will Teach You to Be Rich," and then "Psychology of Money" is more of like a overall sort of money mindset thing, but it's pretty straightforward and outlined there, and I'll also link to my book summaries on that. But essentially it's so assessing your debt, how fast and how aggressive you want to tackle that, your monthly spending, meaning like the bare minimum that you need to survive, and knowing what your bare minimum per month to survive. Let's say for me it's a grand, right? And if I'm trying to have an emergency fund that's like 3 month emergency fund, and my bare minimum to survive is 1 grand, then 3 months is 3 grand, right? 6 months, 6 grand. It's like easy math. And so getting to that 3 or 6 month emergency fund is super critical for you just in case and something happens that you need that, right?
Mhm.
So assessing whether it makes sense to tackle the debt first or simultaneously build your savings. And then from there, once you have a solid savings and your debt is at a good place, then we talk about investing. I think the problem that a lot of people have is they try to jump straight into, oh, let me invest in Robinhood, which you should not do immediately as a taxable account. Just my personal advice. You should try to open up a retirement retirement account, which is basically an investment account, but it's tax advantage. So if it's an IRA, or sorry, if it's a Roth or non-Roth, you either get an advantage back end, front end. This is going to mean gibberish if you've never done it before, but essentially, always start with a retirement account before you do a regular taxable account. But that's like step three, right?
Yeah.
Beyond your debt, beyond your savings. And then it's knowing after that point, knowing what your monthly spending is, and then kind of having that emergency fund, and then your debt, and then you start investing in your retirement account. Then once you max out your IRA or any 401k match, and then you kind of go into what else makes sense to you, right? But
Yeah.
if you finish those first 3 or 4 steps, you're better than what, like 80% of the people out there who like live paycheck to paycheck, or they
Mhm.
don't know where their debt is, or they just spend more than they make, whatnot. But it's all very simple, straightforward stuff. And then even if you get to investing, there's dollar cost averaging, there's index funds, there's retirement date accounts. These like these a lot of stuff that we'll go into. But if we ever have coaching, or you can Google this stuff, it's pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy or fancy, but it's very valuable to learn.
Yeah, so this is a great segue to plug. If you would like JR to help you with your
Yeah.
finances.
I'm always open. I'm currently building out a website for relationship coaching. But if you're interested in personal finance coaching, I've done about a dozen like clients have like set coaching sessions. It takes about anywhere from 1.5 to 2 to 3 hours, but we address kind of like where your goals are and how to get there. And for me, it's not about the money. I will charge an amount so that you take it more seriously, but honestly, I think
Mhm.
the value that you and my friends and acquaintances get from it is huge.
Yeah, I will say, there was one year when I was working 1099 and I had JR help me with finances. We had a financial coaching session. I started saving up. And because I was on 1099 for the first time ever, I didn't realize how much the taxes would hit me. And what JR had set me up for was to be able to pay off $11,000 in taxes that year. And without that coaching, I would have been pretty screwed.
Yeah.
And then I was also able to put like a 10K down on my car.
Nice.
So invaluable financial advice. Everybody just hit up JR.
Nice. Yeah.
Mm.
Thanks, man. I was gonna say, I forgot my thought. Never mind. Yeah, thanks for the plug. Anything else on that topic? Again, if you are a personal finance person, hit me up. I would love to interview on the show, and we can talk deeper on finances. But thanks for bringing it up. I think that's
Yeah.
something people should learn about. All right, you ready for my question?
Ooh, bring it.
Okay, what is one belief or mindset that has changed for you over the years? I guess I'll give mine first. So I think my perception of over giving or receiving gifts has changed over the years. Um, because I think I don't want things that like how do I say this? I usually don't want like gifts because I'm not really a gifts person, like love languages.
Yeah.
I'm not really a gift giving sort of person. But I have learned that if you want to express your love for someone else, and if it's their love language, you kind of had to like put in effort to be thoughtful and give kind of those sort of thoughtful gifts, or you know that sort of thing to someone else. But also, like, even if I don't like receiving gifts, I still appreciate the thought that goes into it, because that's the whole point. It's not the thing they gave me, like the shirt or whatever. It's the intention that they're giving me, and that's what I should appreciate, not the actual thing.
Mhm.
Like, for example, and for gifts, I really, well, if you're a friend of mine, you give me gifts. I appreciate all the gifts you give me, but I really don't like things that just take up space in my
Mhm.
life, like real estate. Like, it just sits in my room, gathers dust. I like functional things or things that take up minimal space. So two good examples would be stickers that I can just put on like my laptop or whatever, or like apparel, like one piece shirts or hats or shoes, something like that,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, I can wear this and it's taking up space, but it's functional. Whereas if you give me like a, like a, let's say like a pop thing,
A
like a
chia
toy
pet.
or a chia pet or something where it's just like, oh, here's the thing. And I'm like, I really appreciate it. Thank you. But in my head, I'm like, now what am I going to do with this? Like, because
Yeah.
it's just taking up space in my room. But I think, yeah, that's one thing that's changed is my perspective of gifts. So what about you?
Mm. That's a tough question. I think for me, it's something that I'm still working on, but a reassessment of how I define my own personal value. I think growing up, it was ingrained in me, especially because we're Asian, that the value you have is like your subservience to the space or like to the authority figure. So I was a good person if I was a good student in class, or I was a good person if I was a good son at home.
Mm.
I was a good person if I was a good worker at work. And as I have gotten older and come more into my 30s and have moved around these spaces a little bit more differently, I find that that kind of mindset is actually quite harmful both for myself and for the space. So internally or on a personal level, when I approach things with that sense, sure, there's some positive aspects to it, right? So I'm constantly trying to contribute. I'm constantly trying to optimize or create more efficiency for both myself and the spaces I'm in. And so there is value that is generated there, but it comes from a sense of not being good enough. And I think people can read that on an emotional level, even if they don't recognize it, like on an intellectual level. And that kind of breeds a space where people feel like, oh, am I not good enough now? Like, if you're not good enough, then what am I? And so it sets people up to start unraveling, and the space becomes difficult for people to like navigate through or like to exist in, because now it feels like everyone has to do something in order to generate value for themselves, in order to deserve to be there. Something that I have been challenged by both my therapist and my vocal coach to do is to look at contribution more as a gift than as a necessity, right? So we enter a space, we are of value already inherently as people. Like we already have value in and of ourselves. And when we come into a space, the purpose isn't to prove that we have value or prove that we deserve to be there, but to share our experience with each other and open up that space for everyone to contribute. I think that comes from internally a sense that is more stable, that's more relaxed, that's more inviting. So instead of creating anxiety around like, am I good enough? Well, if I'm not good enough, then are you good enough? And like, if you're not good enough, then am I good enough? It creates more of like, oh my gosh, wow, you're bringing so much into the room. I want to bring stuff into the room. Like you're sharing so much knowledge. I want to share knowledge. And now everyone in the space benefits from that sort of collective calm or collective open mindedness.
I love that. It's like an abundance mindset, sort of too,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. And another thing too, sorry to go back.
Mhm.
What I was going to say, the last thing on finance, and we're just going to go back to right now, is it's good that you brought that up because this episode probably go live like right around the tax deadline, whatever, right after it's because it's like end of April, something like that. But going back to what you were saying, it kind of reminds me of this Tony Robbins quote where he says that with this sort of wealth mindset and scarcity versus abundance, what you should do is start with the mindset of being wealthy because you have so much already in you, within you, a lot to be grateful for, so to speak. So you start well because wealthy is a mindset, but having financial success is a different thing. That's a tangible thing.
Mhm.
So start wealthy, but then generate income or generate wealth and build assets after that. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Because wealth is more of a mindset. And it
Mm.
reminds me of what you're just saying is like you start with that mindset, you're accepted as you are, and you already have value. And then from there, it's just you
Mhm.
do the actual thing. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And I find that this has also been very helpful in my artistic endeavors. When I dance or when I sing, I find that my habit is to kind of approach it from this mindset of like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to do this, so let me just try. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry I'm here, I'm doing this. I mean, there are better dancers, better singers who could be doing this. And I think that reads. I think people who watch me perform after that can tell that I'm performing with that mindset, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know if I should feel bad for this performer, or like, I don't know, the vibe is off." And so I've been working with my vocal coach more specifically to try to shift that mindset to say like, "Well, no, when we perform, it's communication, right? We're trying to communicate with our audience or with other performers to try to tell a story, to have a conversation." And you can't really have a conversation if the entire time you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm sorry."
If you're trying to justify your own existence in that
Exactly.
space.
And so I've been trying to enter spaces where I've been invited with a mindset of, I have stuff I can share, and I also have stuff I can learn. So I'm going to come and share what I can and learn what I can. And I would hope that I can invite others to do the same. And I have found that that instills a kind of confidence in me that I was lacking with the other mindset. I tend to pick up choreography quicker. I tend to do better harmonies. And that's because I'm no longer carrying around the anxiety of questioning my value, questioning my worth. Because if you already have it, you don't have to worry about it. And now other people can sense that and like recognize that they also have value that we can see.
Yeah. It's kind of like putting that energy in the space that you want to also
Yeah,
create. Cool. Did you have a next topic?
I did. Okay, so I know you've brought this up a couple
Yeah.
times, but favorite anime and why?
I think my entire audience knows my favorite anime is One Piece.
Okay.
I literally wear the shirts every single chance I get.
Even your producer knows.
Yes, of course. My producer is very astute, so of course he knows. But yeah. So One Piece. You said why?
Yeah.
So
Personally,
so
I've
do we
never
have
been
do we
able.
have an hour? I guess in the nutshell, TLDR. There's a few different themes that I love about One Piece. It's a for those of you who don't know why are you listening to this, go watch One Piece. I'm just kidding, but it's a pirate anime, so it's about like this crew called the Straw Hat Crew, and their captain Luffy, he's like a rubber man. He has like special powers, and he's kind of like stretches and stuff like that. And basically, they're on a mission to become king of the pirates, or he's trying to be king of the pirates, and everyone else on the crew has their own dreams and goals. But they all come together to make his dream come true and have fun adventures together. And of course, along the way, they come across bad guys, people who enslave other people or put them down or just oppress them, and they liberate them, and they're just going on this adventure to have fun. Well, so what I like about it, aside from the strong theme of chasing your dreams and supporting your friends' dreams and the people around you and helping others, is also this idea. And I think I mentioned in my last episode that a lot of my life philosophies come from One Piece specifically, about like friends, family, found family, and how you interact in the group dynamic. And I think it's the biggest thing that I take away from that, and which I bring into my own team choreos and what I teach them in terms of culture,
Mm,
is that we're all built different. We all like different things. We have different strengths, weaknesses, goals, dreams, etc. And the best team is not a homogenous team. The best team is one that leans into our differences
mm,
and relies on each other. Because Luffy, being the captain, is pretty much dumb and stupid and not competent in anything. The only thing he is very strong like as a fighter, because in anime punch manga they fight.
yeah.
But what he is good at is caring about other people and doing whatever it takes to keep his word. Like he never goes back on his word. And so because of that, that integrity, his crew trusts him. And because they trust him, they will also put their life on the line for him and his dreams.
Mm,
And so he's not like they have a navigator who's the best navigator, a swordsman who's the best swordsman, a chef who's the best chef, but they all need each other to make this adventure happen. And they won't stop at anything but to like make sure that each other like protecting and like helping each other. And so I see that as like you can't, unlike these other anime and manga, you can't go at life alone. You can't just be the main protagonist and just force your way through life. You have to learn how to rely on others,
mm.
help yourselves, stick true to your principles, and stay true to yourself. And I think that's what creates the best adventure. And it's not about getting to the destination. So finding the last island, the One Piece, the Laugh Tale is the goal, but the actual goal is the journey along the way. Because Luffy's like, yeah, we may or may not ever make it to One Piece, but that's not the point. The point is to have fun with my friends.
Mhm.
And so I take that away as well, is enjoy the journey, enjoy your friends, lean into that, accept people as they are, and that's how you build a great team.
What was that saying? It's like the journey is the friends we made along the
Yeah,
way.
that too. The journey, or like the real treasure or whatever is the friends you met along the way, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of it. I mean, it's also a pirate anime, so they're trying to find the One Piece, which is a treasure. So,
Mm.
but yeah, if that does not evangelize you to watch One Piece, I don't know what will.
I feel like we're such different people when it comes to anime. Because I know One Piece is like 1,000+ episodes now.
Like 1,100 minimum.
Jeez. Yeah. Good luck to anybody who's starting new.
There is a new reboot sort of version that they're doing. It's like a streamline with the new studio.
I see.
And so they're trying to compress like let's say the 1200 episodes into like maybe 2 to 300. And it's updated because this anime came out in 1998, sometime around then. And so it's to bring in the new audience to this like sort of concise, streamlined version.
Ooh.
So be on the lookout for that if you're. And also there's the live action as well that's bringing more people in. They're
Mhm.
different mediums. The spirit of One Piece is still the same across those mediums, but whatever you get into, it's like on you. I think once you become a diehard fan, you will want to read the original source material.
Yeah.
But honestly, whatever brings you in, highly recommend it.
Dang. I might look for that shortened
Yeah, yeah.
abridged anime version.
It's on the horizon. Like maybe
Okay.
this year or next year it'll start airing or
Oh,
something
what
like that.
a funny pirate pun you got there. I was gonna say mine is I feel like an opposite cut.
Mm.
So my favorite anime is like it's very hard for me to find anybody who's seen it. It's called Death Parade.
You tell me about
Um,
it.
and it's like one season. I think it's only like 16 episodes. It's super tight. I really like the animation. It is a bit on the dark and
Depressing side.
gruesome side. Yeah. So the premise of it is basically the main character is a bartender at a bar that sits between life and death. And so when people die, they forget like the past couple hours of their life. So they don't think they're dead. They show up in the bar and he makes them play games. And based on how they engage with each other through the game, he judges whether they can be reborn into another life or sent to eternal damnation. But the twist is there's another girl who shows up, but she doesn't come into the bar through the typical means. So they have no idea who she is and how she's there. So she sticks around as kind of like the viewer insert character, and she'll ask questions and she'll like poke and prod at his philosophy, being like, why did you do that? Or like why do you assume that? And so it really challenges like a philosophical approach of like how do we judge people? Like why do people behave the way that they behave? And the last episode took me out. Like
Hmm.
emotionally, I was wrecked. I was
Yeah.
like, dang. I spent all season with like these two people, just watching them like judge people left and right. And in the end, I was like, you know,
So everyone dies in the end.
oh man, it's so dark.
I
It's
bet.
so rough. But I love um, anime for that, especially like psychological or
Yeah.
philosophical anime. I think it provides a great avenue for us to have really deep and profound conversations about how we view things and our perspectives when approaching people of different background or different thought processes.
I like it. Quick take before we switch, but I've just started or whatever started watching this anime called The 12 Future Diaries.
Oh,
Have you watched or seen
I
it? Yeah, I don't know where I got this rec from, but like it's very dark and
Mhm,
violent and all this, but and there's some plot holes, but I really like how like fresh it feels
mhm,
because it's like a psychological thriller. This basically these 12 people have these diaries where they have different sort of seeing into the future esque abilities. And number one is the protagonist, but the second diary holder is like this psycho creepy his creepy girlfriend who's like a stalker, but she's also superhuman and she's a sociopath, like she can kill people easily. So she's obsessed with him, but then there's like 10 other people who have different motives and stuff. But it's very creepy, psychological. You're not really sure what everyone's motives is, but it kind of gets revealed. So it's kind of like a murder mystery as well.
yeah.
But heavy on the action, the thriller, the violence, the romance, and all this other stuff.
I also watched that one. I thought it was interesting because I was watching this breakdown of it,
Mhm.
and so number one and number two are a couple,
Yeah.
but one of the other future diaries is a couple diary,
Mm-hmm.
and so their diaries tell of each other's future. And the reviewer who was talking about this anime was like, "Oh yeah, like the main character, he starts out like as a pretty pathetic person, like a awful guy. He's like willing to let his psycho girlfriend like die for him." And everyone along the way that they meet and like that they engage with are always trying to yell at him to say like, "Dude, you need to be a man. Like
Yeah.
you need to grow up. You need to like figure out what you're doing and like take care of your woman and all this stuff." And I was like, wow, I never really looked at it in that way because they're all just trying to kill each
Yeah, they're all
other.
trying to kill each other, but then they also kind of help each other at some point because they're trying to
Yeah.
kill other people. And then, like you said, they're also trying to help coach the like number one dude, like,
Yeah.
hey, you should be better. And so usually I hate those protagonists where they're kind of
Mhm.
like like wimpy and they don't stand for anything and they're kind of cowards.
Yeah.
But like, he develops over time. But I'm still watching it, but yeah, it was interesting. Just reminded me of
Yeah.
that. All right. My question is, I think it's either or. So, what are some hypocrisies that you notice either in society or the people around you in your communities, or any hot takes?
Ooh, you trying to get me
Yeah.
canceled.
Ideally, yeah. Let me go first, and so you
Okay.
can like formulate yours because I already have an answer. So mine is, uh, so that's we joke about this in stand-up comedy all the time. So that the stereotype of how Asians or Filipinos eat dogs, and we
Mhm.
obviously don't, but it's one of those things, right? And so, what bothers me is that the people who are so adamantly against the idea of eating a dog or something
Mhm.
like that, like a commonly known house pet, is that they are also like avid meat eaters,
Yeah.
meaning they'll eat slaughtered cow, chicken, pig all day, and they won't bat an eye. But it's like, oh no, a puppy, and but they're bred to be,
Yeah.
like a companion, and they're intelligent. Like, excuse me, a lot of these animals that you eat are also intelligent.
Yeah.
They might not be bred or genetically modified or put in cages
Mhm.
with eternal darkness, and they're just fed and then like kept there and then slaughtered inhumanely. But apparently, you're fine with that, but you're not fine with eating a dog. And I'm not advocating to kill puppies or cats or all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
I'm just saying that hypocrisy throws me off because we'll go to Korean barbecue right afterwards, but then as soon as someone says like, "Oh yeah, like people eat dogs in some other places where they're like very starving and they need food and stuff like that," and they're
Mhm.
like, "Oh no, that's so terrible." I'm like, "You're not a vegan, so why?
Mhm.
What is this hypocrisy?" So hopefully that makes sense. It kind of just bothers
Yeah.
me that like they have this double standard. I'm like, dead animal is a dead animal. If you're gonna enjoy the meat, then don't be a hypocrite and be like, "Oh no, we just saved the puppies."
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, you're contributing to pollution, which kills all the animals in the ocean. So again,
Yeah.
it's very complicated, but that's something that takes me out.
Man, I feel like we can talk about this for forever. Um, I have so many hypocrisies that just jump out at me, and I'm like trying to choose one. It's like, which
Where do
one?
I start?
Yeah, I think the first one that really comes to mind, probably because of like the political climate and what my Instagram algorithm is sharing with me, but
Mhm.
the hypocrisy I find that irks me is when people talk about like pro-life things and then vote against policies that
Mm,
help to ensure that when life does occur, that it's a life worth living.
yeah.
So I'm like, personally, I am like all for life, right? If I could get pregnant and then I could keep the child, then I would, because life is precious to me. But I also recognize that I am not the one carrying a child in me. So I don't get to make that decision for someone else. But what I can do is make sure that if someone chooses to keep keep a fetus, keep a pregnancy, that when that child comes, there is a life worth living. There are institutional support to make sure that that child is supported, cared for. So that's things like education, food and water, housing, right? And these are all things that people who typically, not all, but
Right.
typically call themselves pro-lifers vote against,
Mhm.
because their mindset is like, well, if you want it, you better go work for it. And I was like, okay, well, how are you gonna have like a newly born baby go work for like food, you know? And if the mother needs food to get the food to the baby, should the mother not have food?
Yeah.
Like, hello?
My friend put it succinctly this way: it's the hypocrisy of people who are pro life, but they're actually pro birth, not pro life.
Yeah.
Because if you were pro life, you would be supporting these initiatives, policies, things that government can do that can support life in a healthy way and,
Hmm.
fairly and, with equal access. But you're actually pro birth. You just want the birth to happen, but you don't give a crap about the baby afterwards,
Yeah.
especially like considering their skin color or their demographic or their
Yep.
parents' economic status. Clearly, that's in play.
Yeah.
So yeah, that hypocrisy is so glaring.
And I think it's especially interesting because as the world becomes more globalized and more interconnected, we are able to access and view what is happening around the world on a more consistent basis. And especially since our government has a hand in international affairs, as someone who studied international relations, international politics, for me, it's kind of like what we do at home is also what happens abroad. So the policies that we vote here have real impact not only on the people here, but the people everywhere. And it's frustrating to me when we say like, "Oh, we're pro-life," but yeah, let's just pass like a couple $1 billion to send bombs to another country
Right.
to
Let's
bomb
bomb
more
another
kids.
country. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're pro
So
life, but not pro though that life.
yeah, and that's really what's frustrating for me because I was like, if you're gonna call yourself pro-life, recognize that words mean things. Words have power, and own it. I'm okay if you want to be like, I'm a pro-birther. That's all I really care about. Just recognize it and own it.
Right.
But don't claim something that you're not, and then try to use that as a a weapon with which to disarm others. Like that's not productive.
Right.
Right.
It's like a double standard. And so I agree. I think like people can have their own values and morals and principles and what guides them to make decisions and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What bothers me is the double standards and trying to use those wordings to empower yourself and what your agenda is, but disempower other people with the same words
Mm.
and the same meanings, but kind of just flipping it around. Again, that's what kind of bothers me about the politics nowadays is
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's always like that kind of extends a little bit into the hypocrisy of like, well, you shouldn't persecute me for my beliefs, but let me persecute you for
Exactly.
yours real quick. And that's where I get frustrated with some like of the religious arguments that go behind pro-life or like pro-birth. It's like, oh, well, like my religion says I have to protect life. So I'm going to force you to carry this pregnancy. And I was like, didn't we talk about like separation of church and state? Like, can I just do my own stuff? Like, I'll take care of mine and you take care of yours. And then that's when they're like, oh, but you're persecuting my religion now. And I was like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense to me. You are the predominant majority religion of this country. Like, no one is, we're saying you can do whatever you want. Do what you want. I like that grinds my gears.
Yeah. I'll add in one more thing if we're not already canceled by this. Or people are like, oh no, it's a political podcast, it's a religious podcast.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's not. But see, okay, I'll speak on this as a Christian too, because I'm a Christian and some of the hypocrisy I see in the Christian community, at least in my space, is like the whole pro-life is one thing, but also the whole fact of like there's a lot of groups that are Christian groups and religious groups that are like anti-immigrants and helping the poor and the homeless and the sick and all this other stuff. But it's like, guys, what did Jesus do? Literally wash the feet of sick people
Mhm.
and protected the immigrants and welcomed them in, all these other things. But then you do the opposite things and yet you claim that you're a Christian. Like again, it's the
Mm.
hypocrisy that bothers me. It's not standing on your morals and principles. It's double standard for you saying I have my values here, but when it's in this case, in the exact same instance, I'm gonna flip it around and say, no, actually not. That's just what bothers me a lot.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot I could
Yep,
say about
yep,
that.
yep. Let's save it for later. I think that was enough spice in the rack. I think your turn. Your turn.
Okay, my turn. All right. So I know you do like karaoke sessions with a group
It's
of your
racist. I'm
friends.
just kidding.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
we've
I'm
been
Filipino.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
my friends are Filipino.
Yeah,
We sing
exactly.
karaoke.
Are you
We
gonna
do.
cancel me now?
No, we do. We generally, because we're Filipino, we sing karaoke. Yeah.
Yeah, tight. So I wanted to ask what your like, how did you get into singing, aside from the stereotype, like on a personal level?
Aside from your genetics, how did you get into
Yeah,
singing?
like the first note you sang when you came out the womb versus
Yeah, it was Jollibee.
Oh my god.
You want to go first?
But yeah, I just wanted to know how you got into it, how you got to the point where you decided to invest more in it by having like consistent karaoke sessions. What's your engagement with music? So for example, for me, I started singing in high school because my sister was in a choir and I joined. And for me, like I said before, my concern had always been like, oh, I want to contribute. Like I really love singing. I think it's like a great form of expression. It's like really cool to do. But I feel like I'm constantly like not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, which is why I sought out a vocal coach who I've now been with for years, and part of his training
What's
has
his
been
what's his ethnicity?
so he's Filipino.
I knew the answer to that.
If anybody's I know I've talked about my vocal coach a lot, so shameless plug for him. His name is Glenn Clancy, Glenn. Last name Clancy, CLA.
Wait, how old is he? Do you know?
He's in his 40s now.
Okay,
So
Kuya Glenn.
oh
Sorry,
my
just wanted
god.
to throw that in. Shout out to Kuya
Um,
Glenn. Thanks for teaching Aiden your
oh
singing.
my god. Well, we weren't canceled now.
Hey, I'm Filipino. I feel like I can make that joke. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but like a lot of his emphasis is on reorienting our mindset around music and how we engage with music. Because if you have a positive relationship with music, you will naturally search out more things to do with it. And so knowing that that has been my journey, I was curious to know what your journey is as someone who did not like have training through a vocal coach,
Yeah.
did not go to this guy that I go to.
Mm.
So like, how did you get from birth to
Birth to
consistent
whatever I'm
karaoke
singing.
sessions?
Yeah. I will say it's a little bit different for me because I know you're consistent and intentional about like growing your vocal skill. For me, it's always just been a fun thing. I did not sing out of the womb. I didn't have any vocal training. My friends and I, we kind of just do it for fun. As a social thing, like every 4 to 6 weeks. After about like 4 weeks, we start to feel this itch, like, we gotta go karaoke soon, right? Because it's just fun, and maybe it's an inherent like Filipino culture thing. But yeah, for me, I think a lot of my family always sang, the stereotypical Filipino karaoke Magic Mike at like parties and stuff like that. And so I was always surrounded by that environment. So it's just
Mm.
a normal thing. And it's not that everyone knows how to sing, but apparently eventually they get better. So I remember when I was like in middle school, early high school, my sister and I would sing like these Tagalog songs, and we don't speak Tagalog. So I would just sing phonetically as I hear it, and I would copy my dad. Like he would sing like "Bakit na yun ka lang," and
Bakit na
I would
yun
sing
ka
just like the
lang?
Tito sort of version. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I'm just doing it just for fun. And then I think eventually after college, I never really sang formally just for fun. But then after college, I started to like, okay, let me just try practicing and trying to like sound good so that I can enjoy the act of singing. And I think at some point there was like a switch or like a threshold where I'm like, oh, I think I'm decent now. So that when I do sing, it feels a lot better than that sort of skill gap where like let's say in dancing, you're like, okay, I
Mm.
don't think I look good and it's not enjoyable. But once you start to get to a certain level and you like where you're at, it starts to get more fun.
Mm.
So eventually I just got there where I'm like, oh, I think I'm decent now. So now I really have a lot of fun. And I think the fun aspect, kind of like what you're saying, enjoying the thing that you do, put gas on the fire. And now we go consistently. And like, I don't think about, oh, do I sound terrible? Because I know I'm not trained and I know I don't always sound good, but I know that I sound good enough that I enjoyed enough that I will keep going. And I think that inherently keeps improving my skill because I'm inherently practicing, but not consistently as you.
Yeah.
And to be fair, guys, I don't really sing that well. Like Aiden actually sings really well. Like he went to karaoke one time and we're like, damn, this guy's a real singer. So yeah, just a
Thank you, thank
disclaimer.
you. No, I mean, I think you sound dope.
Thank you.
I honestly think my coach would like you better because I'm always so uptight about it, and
Oh,
he's
I
like,
see.
"Dude, you need to fucking relax."
Yeah. Go to karaoke or
Yeah,
something,
he's
man.
like, you need to find the fun in it." And I was like, "Music is supposed to be fun. We do this because we enjoy it." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, right, my bad."
Okay. What are your go-to karaoke songs
Oh, dang.
for people who don't have the privilege of going with us? What can they expect you? What are your top three that you expect to sing?
Ooh, top 3. Okay. So, anytime I think about top 3, I try to vary it up a little
Right.
bit to
I'm gonna do the same.
yeah, to test out my waters. So I like musicals. So the first one I would do is "She Used to Be Mine" from the musical Waitress, but the Jeremy Jordan version. It's in a key that I can manage.
Nice. We love managing keys.
I know. And we love Jeremy Jordan. Oh my God, he's phenomenal. I saw him in the Great Gatsby musical a couple months back, and I am obsessed. He is so good. Um, so that's one. Another one that I like to do is "Wildflower" by Park Hyo-shin. So I like Korean ballads.
Mm.
Very, very nice. So I really enjoy coming back to this song on occasion because it's like a checkpoint for me to see like how much I've changed technique wise or mindset wise. So sometimes I'll be singing, and as we get to the bridge, I'm like, oh, okay, what technique do I want to employ? Or like, am I ready to employ it? Versus sometimes I'm like, oh, am I scared of like the bridge coming up because it's high? Is that going to cause me to tense up? Is that tension going to prevent me from singing it? And so that one's always fun for me to showcase, but also kind of like surprise myself and be like, oh, shoot, I can do it today. That's nice. And let's see, my third song, depending on who's there, I will change it.
Mhm.
I have like a couple Japanese songs, some Tagalog songs, some Thai, some Viet songs that I have like in my docket, and so I adjust it depending on who's in the crowd.
Same, same.
Yeah, just so I can be like, surprise, I gotcha.
Yeah.
But if not, then I usually just try to do something a little fun just to mix up the vibe. And in that case, my go-to would be Anaconda by Nicki Minaj.
Perfect.
I was like, hey, I need to remind people that like, yeah, we're here to put on a show. It doesn't need to be like superb singing all the time. It can just be throwing ass sometimes, you know?
Nice. Yeah, pro tip for guys going karaoke, have a karaoke list or like a song list. So be prepared. I break mine up into categories like
Mm,
Disney songs, rap, ballad, like Korean ballads, Japanese ballads, like
mhm.
pop songs, top 40 sort of thing. It helps with the flow because, half the time you go in there and the first 5 minutes people are just looking. But I'm like, noob, like just go in with you should have a list, especially with my friends. I'm like, you guys don't have a karaoke list? Like, it's easy. Just you put in your usuals and then kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So yeah, my top three would always be any combination, not in this order, but an Eminem song or a rap song,
Mhm.
because I'm like the biggest Eminem fan. Um, so it might be like Rap God or Forgot About Dre, with Dr. Dre. And then I'll do a Disney song. Typically it'll be Frozen. So something with Elsa that I'll sing.
Mm.
Probably like the reprise of what is it called? Not You Do Want to Build a Snowman. It's the
Is it from the first or
from the
second
first
movie?
movie where after when Anna's trying to go back and be like, "Hey, you should come back," and she's like, you can just unfreeze everything." And she's like, "No, I can't. I don't know how."
Oh, oh,
First Time
oh.
in Forever reprise version. I love that one. Or like Disney, like something there, Beauty and the Beast.
Mhm.
And then my third one will be a guaranteed Japanese ballad from TVXQ or DBSK, and it'll be either Love in the Ice or Bolero.
Mm,
Don't know what I'm saying, but like I listen to TVXQ like at least once a week,
mhm.
and they're just like my old group because their ballads just dominate.
I've definitely heard you sing all of those.
Yeah,
A plus,
and I
love
will
it.
I will solo a what's a like a duet, but what's a
Mhm.
5 person, like what is that called? Quintet? Okay, so I quintet solo. So I'll do all the parts like how they do it. And like even in Beating the Beast, right?
Yeah.
I will sing both Belle and Beast.
Yep.
And so I'll switch back and forth like something sweet. Like so I'll go back and forth. But even for TVXQ, I will switch between like the vocals of all five of them
Yeah.
because I'm just so psycho like that. But we'll
Yeah,
get
if
to it.
if anybody wants to see JR's Beauty and the Beast rendition, it's actually on
We have a
Instagram.
viral video for Jaron Blessy that had like
Yeah.
a million or something views, like yeah, a couple 100,000 likes of me singing at a karaoke bar,
Yeah.
like at a restaurant. And yeah, I switched back and forth between the guy and the girl.
I thought it was so funny because I see the waitress come up with like another mic and Blessy goes, "It's okay, he got it."
Yeah. It's
And
so
I
funny.
died. I was like, "That's so funny."
You know what's funny? Afterwards too, because our that's karaoke crew, like just a bunch of us, and so that was one of the first times we went to a karaoke bar, and I got featured on that restaurant's Instagram,
Mhm.
and we do it for fun. But then I was telling Blessy jokingly, I was like, "Oh, did you get featured on the Instagram? Oh no, just me. Oh, so you're saying I'm first place in karaoke crew? You're saying I'm the best? I'm joking, but I am first
Yeah.
place. So,
I mean, tight. We love it. We love it. Congratulations.
all right, is it me or you? Me?
I think that was
It
a
was
question
yours.
you asked me.
No, that was oh, how you got into singing, right?
I asked how you got into singing. You asked me top 3 karaoke songs.
Oh, okay. I was on that topic, but
Uh,
yeah,
okay, sure.
it's
You
just
can
kind of
go
going
if
off
you'd
of
like.
it. Anyways, okay, we have time. We have time. We have time.
Sick, sick, sick.
So new topic. So we're both optimizers. If you listen to Aiden's first episode,
Mhm.
so what is one way you've optimized your life recently, or one thing you do that gives you more peace? I know those are kind of
Ooh,
different, but similar, right?
yeah.
I'll start with mine and I'll go quick. It's cutting people out and maximizing peace when values don't align. And
Mm,
so it's not so much to say like I'm not like hack and slash, but I'm very intentional with like, okay, over time, if you're very observant, self-aware, and you're observant around if you listen to Jesse's episode, which just went live, well, before this recording, but
yeah.
it's surrounding yourself with people mindfully and not just mindlessly and protecting your peace there. But I think I've gotten better at understanding the type of people that are around me and being more intentional with spending time with people who align more with my values and less around people who don't align with my values. But more than that is if there it comes to a point where I know I should probably cut them out because they're not good for my, mental health, or they're just
Mm,
toxic people, or I don't like their lack of integrity, or they're not a person of their word. I'm really big on integrity, meaning like if you
mm,
say you're going to do something, you do it. And there are just a lot of people in my life who maybe they're fun to be around and they're exciting and all this other stuff and good
mm,
vibes, but they will leave you on red, they won't reply, they'll say one thing and they'll do another thing, and they treat you one way and then do another thing another way. So those people are in a new category of mine where I'm like, I'm gonna invest so little energy into this because it's robbing me of my peace. And
mm,
also I'd rather be surrounded by people like yourself
mm,
who do something, they say something and then they do something. So if I call you a person of integrity, that's like the highest compliment I can give. And if you aren't that person of integrity, I will spend less and less time with you, but, I'll still treat people with respect, and if they wanna
mm,
reach out and I have the capacity, I'm glad to spend time, but
mm.
otherwise, that's what I've been doing.
Wow. Props to that. I definitely feel that. I think that's the challenge for myself as well. I think it's funny that you asked this question because I feel like I gave you the answer literally like a couple days ago when we actually I gave it to you before we even started recording today. But as I am deciding to let go of some of my side hustles so that I can focus more on myself, I have started up doing daily retros for myself. And so I have a tracker in which every day I record some of my metrics that I would like to track. So, how much water did I drink? What did I eat that day? I don't necessarily calorie count, I just look at what did I eat. I track my weight and my exercise. And then I list out my 3 L's, which is a very project manager type thing. It's my liked, learned, and lacked for the day. So, what did I like about today? What did I enjoy? What did I learn from the things that happened, or what did I take out of it? And what did I feel was missing in my day, or what did I fail to achieve in that day? And this daily practice, I think, has really forced me to, in some instances, sit in silence because I'll sit there and I was like, uh, what was the day? What did I do? Like, where did I go? Who did I talk to? And I found myself yesterday actually sitting there trying to fill out this retro. And I was like, oh, I have a ton of stuff I liked. Great session at the studio. I had fun dancing. I got to talk to folks that I hadn't spoken to in a while. I was like, I don't feel like I learned anything and I don't feel like I lacked anything. And my desire was to like close the chapter and be like, okay, I'm done. But I forced myself to sit there and I was like, no, no, no. I had to have learned something and I had to have lacked something because no day is ever perfect. And that really pushed me to start looking at things like, okay, so I drank enough water and I ate enough, but did I eat too much? I was like, no, I really only had 2 meals, but those meals were huge. And so I was like, okay, so what I'm lacking is portion control. So if I want to improve my diet, that's something I need to look at. And now that I've been able to identify it by forcing myself to sit there in silence for 5 minutes and reflect, I now have actionable next steps to improve my subsequent days. And doing the same thing with like the learned section really helps me to find gratitude for that day. Because if I didn't learn anything, I just liked it, I feel like I'm kind of just passively rolling through my days. But I focus on, okay, what did I learn? And I try to make these distinct from my liked and my lacked. So it's like, I wouldn't say, I learned that I lacked XYZ or I learned that I liked ABC. So for me, I was like, okay, in today, I learned that sometimes it takes me 5 minutes to figure out what I learned. Sometimes it takes that silence. Okay, great. So now that I know that, moving forward when I do my retros, I know to allot myself a little bit some quiet time so that I can appropriately fill this out. And the nice thing about this is because I'm able to plan so much of this out, it makes my subsequent days a lot more calm. I don't feel as like stressed to be like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like what happened today? I don't need to question that because now I know because I've reflected. And I've also found that as I do this, each of my subsequent retros get longer and longer. I
Mm.
have like more to say each time. And so I find that my new challenge now isn't to just fill it out, but to fill it out more precisely, to pinpoint more things versus have like huge overarching things. So daily retros,
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah, I like that. And I think if you have one takeaway from this, if I'd recommend something to improve anyone's life immediately or I guess significantly in the long term is to have daily reflections or consistent reflections, whether that be weekly, monthly, or yearly. I mean, I do all those. I do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. But if you do that, that can orient you more towards your goals rather than kind of mindlessly going through your day or your life. And I think that'll help you to achieve like what you really want, and you'll understand yourself better, which is a theme of this whole show is
Mhm.
self-awareness and really knowing who you are. I think you can't do that unless you're intentionally reflecting. So it's
Yeah.
a good practice.
Which I think it's really funny to me because I feel like this takes me full circle. This is the kind of practice that I learned from you and I wanted to do because I've heard about and seen your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly reflections. And that's how I'm trying to set myself up because I want to also increase my own self awareness as I encounter more people who are like, I'm super self aware and they aren't.
Mhm.
So, but going back to hypocrisies, right? Like things that just irk me.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. Okay, we have room for one more, so that's your balls
Okay.
in your court.
Ooh, okay. Juicy, juicy. This one is a little self-serving for me just because I would like to learn more from you. As someone who's been in project management for a number of years, what are some of your top tips, things that you find to be most useful, most effective, that you think anyone can benefit from?
Okay, would you like to go first?
Oh, right. God, I have to take
It's
my
a
own
great question.
medicine.
No, it's a great question, but would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think something that I learned in project management, which I have found to be very invaluable, is my manager told me as a project manager, if you don't know it, no one knows it. And so always ask questions, always ask for more. And I think that has helped me to not only become a better project manager, but become a better communicator. So now, even in working with friends or even on a dance team or in the vocal studio, sometimes I'll just ask questions. And I'll just keep asking questions. And so I find that that not only helps me to better understand what's going on, where people are coming from, how to navigate relationships, but also puts me in a position in which I can now help everyone or I can contribute to everyone.
You're facilitating the conversation
Yeah,
and the information flow, which is critical for like a team trying to achieve something.
exactly. And I think for work, the teams are very formalized, but in a personal or like interpersonal relationship, it's not as formal, but the impact is the same. So I find that being curious, being open, and being willing to ask questions is a huge, huge like strength of a project manager that pays in dividends in all areas of life.
Nice, I like that. Um, Highly agree with that. So I'll throw in another one that I think is very helpful. Is I think one of the biggest and most important things I've learned in project management, team building, stuff like that, etc., is like empowerment of your team. I
Mm.
learned this in Scrum and project management a long time ago, but it's like a team that relies on a leader or a bottleneck or a manager to tell people what to do moves significantly more slowly than a team that is full of leaders who are empowered to make decisions
Mm.
and act faster and leverages their creativity and skills to get the job done better. Kind of like a pirate crew, One Piece sort of thing, right? And so leaning into this thing is how do I empower people to make them do better work? And on top of that, it's how do I get them to buy into an idea that will improve everyone's lives or the whole process?
Mm.
And I think just on that point itself of buy in, it's so important to get people to buy in. And it's not by me telling you what the right thing is, but it's to engage everyone in the conversation of how can we improve this? And it might be my idea or it might be someone else's idea. But the fact that they're in this conversation and they're like, okay, here's our three options. What do you guys think? And if everyone gets to this, like, okay, this is our top option and we do it, that buy in is way more important than me as the leader or manager or whatever telling them, you should do this. Because
Mm.
now they're just following orders, as opposed to now everyone's bought in that this is the best solution. We should all adopt it. And because they're all bought into it, they're going to do it without question, or they're more sold on it, right?
Mm.
So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned about leadership or project management is getting people kind of engage in that process so that they buy in, and then that's where the change happens, and that's where the empowerment happens, and that's where the better pirate crew, I mean, sorry, team happens.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that I think that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I super applicable because one of the jobs I have right now, we're going through a lot of transition. It's very top down and we're meeting a lot of resistance. And
Mm.
so when you were describing that, I was like, dang, they should have just hired you.
Thanks. If
I'll let
only.
them know. I'll let them know
Thank
it's
you.
not too late.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts? We're at time. We'll
Mm.
do wrap up, but anything else on that before we come to a close?
For people who like to be organized, I would say get some sort of board going. I
Mm.
think board management or like a project management
Or
board.
like, yeah, like a Trello or some sort
Mhm.
of thing that, or like even your own post-it notes on the wall or something, right?
Yeah, that I find has been super helpful in helping me manage even like small things from like everyday tasks to big things like year-long projects. Personally, I enjoy that a lot. So if folks want some sort of organization system, I would recommend looking into project management boards.
Nice. Cool. All right. We'll go to closing questions since we'll keep that consistent. So first is always gratitude. Shout out to my mom. Aiden, what are you grateful for?
I am once again grateful for this wonderful, beautiful podcast space, and our wonderful, wonderful producer.
Thanks, Solomon.
Thank you.
Check him out.
Oh, you're welcome.
I am also thankful for JR for hosting this podcast, creating this podcast, and giving folks a platform to learn from each other. And I'm grateful for my therapist.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. I haven't shouted her out enough.
There you go. You're changing lives by changing this dude's life.
Thank you.
I'll give mine just real quick. Gratitude to everyone listening and contributing to this show. All of my guests, obviously, Podcast Place, Solomon, and everyone who's watching, listening, subscribing, and giving all the love and support. This is it's a fun project that I love doing, a passion project of mine that I would do regardless. And I appreciate that people get value out of it regardless, because that's kind of like a peripheral benefit for me, is that if you guys enjoy this, it's great. So I appreciate that. So any feedback, I'm always open to that. And if you have any requests or referrals and whatnot, or any topics you want me to talk about or guests you want me to have on, please let me know. But I'm grateful for all of you guys. All right. And any final ask or takeaways you'd like them to have from this conversation? I know it's kind of like a random show, but any final ask aside from getting out your own project board?
Final ask. I'd say ask good questions. Stay curious.
Nice. Also the theme of the show. Cool. And last question, Aiden, where can they find you if they want to connect or see what you're up to?
I am primarily on Instagram at Aiden Anthony, spelled AEDENANTHONY.
Nice.
My link tree is there as well, so that'll link to my YouTube where you can watch some of my other artistic endeavors, dancing, singing, my short videos or short films, whatever you call them. And yeah,
Cool. All right, Aiden. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for being here again. I really appreciate it. I know we have legendary conversations that can go on for hours, but it's nice to have it recorded for posterity and for all of eternity until the internet dies. So thank you for being here.
yeah.
And my final sign off. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in. I really appreciate it. Reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. And reminder that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.